Hey there, I'm back again. I'm going to look and see if I have my attendee list here. I'm going to say hello and see if anybody wants to chat back at me. So this is a new session. Yay! Hi Darius, thank you. Appreciate it. So it's kind of funny. I'm learning more every time I do this. Brent showed me a few tricks this morning about how to get between session and session. So that's a good thing. And luckily, this very, very cool little speaker's working pretty cool too. So live and learn and figure out what's working and what's not. So far, so good. So today we've had some amazing speakers. I just have to say this. I love the playlist concept. What Kristen was doing on the first session to work with folks to show how to use that interactive storyboard was just absolutely like unbelievable. I actually got to view her storyboard earlier this week because she had presented with my team at work. So I had kind of a hint of the kinds of things that she was able to do using the app, but I think that's pretty cool. And then to talk to Katie and to really start to kind of gel in our mindset, what we're doing as far as creating essentially a storyboard that mimics the types of things that we do in movies, by creating the characters, by creating the templates, the feels, kind of the persona, and really they might actually be like a persona in like a template type of format, for each of our characters, for each of our scenarios, for each of our the ways that we reach an audience might even be different for an audience. Who knows? So some pretty interesting stuff here. So what I told Brent Louise that I was going to talk about today were a few things that I've been doing, and I don't know if I can screen share with you guys or not, but I can. So I can go through and talk to you about the types of storyboarding that I'm doing. And I mentioned this in Katie's cast as well. I'm not super certain that what I'm doing is really a storyboard, but it is kind of my workflow. And so actually, as part of the marketing that we put out for the storyboarding playlist for this week is call it storyboarding, call it story mapping, call it design documents, whatever it really is that you guys all put together to kind of start your process is really your beginning phase. And I don't know how many of you are using Addy, but it's all part of that initial, what I would call the analysis phase, to start putting together your ideas into something that you can reorganize. And in my mindset, something that is modular, so that it can be reorganized. And that was the beauty of the piece of software that Kristen was showing us, is it was very modular. The ideas that Katie was coming up with to template each character was also very modular. And I think those are ideas that are kind of recurring themes in the things that we're seeing in storyboarding. So just letting you guys know too, anybody wants to join in with me, that's cool too. I'd love to know more about what you guys are doing for process. But let me see if I can grab some of the links that I have here. And I wanted to show you some things that I've been working on. To get to the right page here. Okay, I'm actually going to share a link from between windows. Okay, so, and this is kind of rudimentary when you take a look at it. This is something that I've been working on, and as I was mentioning earlier, I tend to create, and I'll be showing you some tools, some very cool tools that are available, that are ad hoc tools and more commercial tools. But I tend to be one of those people, I don't necessarily work in Word. I don't necessarily work in PowerPoint. I tend to be one of those people that works, strangely enough, in Excel documents. Does anybody else do that? Anybody work in Excel? So what you guys are seeing, if you did link, is I PDF this, and I put this into Adobe Document Cloud. But if you look at what I've got here, and I'm hoping that you guys will scroll down, I'm going to see real quickly if I can share my screen. Maybe, hang on, share screen. I'm going to try it. Give it a try. Let me see which one I can get. Nope, I'm not getting the right one. So Let me try it in Chrome. My Chrome window, and we'll try it that way. Okay. Application. Nope. All right. I'll try my entire screen. What the heck? All right. Oh, yay. Now we have many windows again. Let me try doing something different here. Okay. Nope, that is not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and shut that down. All right. So the link I gave you guys, yes, Excel, storyboarding in Excel. Has anybody done this, by the way? Is this anything that anybody would normally do? I actually do this because it gives me a framework, and so I'll walk through it, and I'll talk you through it. You can scroll through it. The framework that I do when I do Excel is that I have columns. And so, like, literally, I have a column here for a working title for my module. I have what I call, and this again is going back to defining styles. So I'll say header level or H1, and that's going to be the working title for my module. That's probably going to be the only piece of text or the only module that gets a header level 1 is going to be the first title. So I did some pieces, and this is a different type of training. It's not necessarily a training per se. This is more of it's a presentation for a group that does channel partner training in a platform and enable it. So I normally go through, and because I like to keep things front and center, first of all, my objectives, which are not well detailed out on this, but it does have some objectives that I keep in front of me. I define those out to begin with. I have nothing in here for audience right now because I have to admit to you that there's still kind of a black hole on this project. This is a project I actually just started engaging on with somebody who is needing some partner training. Design ideas. I don't want to lose sight of this stuff, so this is why it becomes part of this document. So this document serves many, many purposes. And so it has my ADDIE processes in there, my audience analysis, my analysis of what the objective is for the business, the analysis of what my tool sets are. You know, all of that will probably go into one document that becomes a working document for me. Luckily, this is the cool thing about Excel. I can hide some of these columns, and I can share this back out to somebody in a way that they can only see that what I want them to see and what they'll comment on. So this particular Excel document is PDF and is put into an Adobe Cloud. So if you see, I'm starting out with the research that's available. So that becomes, in my mindset, that's header level 2. That's going to be the subtitle. There will be some subtitling, but I'm going to go from my top level, which is channel partner training and enablement, to the research that's out there. Okay, so I've written some things in here, and this writing is going to probably change. That studies suggest, okay, that the level of engagement with partner training is critical to success for this type of partner relationships. So I've started to write some of the marketing messaging, which will go in here, and is in my storyboard as well. Next level over, I start to talk about the tactical, the things that can actually be done to start to address the concerns that we have with marketing. Okay, so I've given him a couple of marketing ideas that talk about studies that are out there. I've talked about the importance of partner training, of vetting training engagements, moving across the types of things that they will deliver out, which will be platforms, communication, maybe sales presentations, the different types of strategies that they're going to use. But then I'll move down into some of the practices that will be enabled as well. I did come up with some ideas, and so I really want to share these ideas in my initial storyboard. And actually, I'll show you I have a PowerPoint that actually tracks along with all of this that I can share as well. But the best practices in partner training will start to be where I'll flesh out some of the ideas, and I'll start to put them into my PowerPoint session so that I can share them with the customer about the kinds of things that I think would be really interesting to use. And really going into different levels of audiences here for potential managers, for maintenance people, logistics teams, how they might use the product, the kinds of case studies that might be there. And then I've got other notes in here as well. I've got more specifics and details. Things on notes on cadence, like how quickly, how many times we might want to share this type of messaging. Moving into my other columns, I've got other applications for what I consider this to be modular content. And so that's where I was talking earlier about storyboarding, and especially the way that Kristen was doing it. And I may go ahead and adopt that tool because it was amazing, is to go ahead and start to look at the piece parts that I put together as having modular uses. So think about it. You meet with the team. There may be a 3-tiered approach on how you're going to address a particular business problem. One of those might be training. The other one of those might be, I don't know, maybe it's going to be a management messaging. Maybe it's a communication plan. Maybe it's creating new materials and different level one-on-one engagements. But the question is the material that I'm creating right now, does it have a specific use once it's written by the SME? Okay, so again, trying to be efficient in the use of time here. Can that modular content that I create, that might be something that goes onto a slide, can that be exported back out again? And do I want to keep it in that modular format so that somebody from maybe the marketing team can go ahead and say, hey, there's already some graphics that are defined here. There's already, and borrowing on Katie's ideas, there's already a theme defined here. There's, maybe a character set, like, I love her beaver that she's using right now. The beaver idea for safety for one of her projects is amazing. Maybe I have someone who is the person who, will walk someone through the training, who is the guide. That would be the case at which I have other applications that can be used in modular ways. Additionally, on my large spreadsheet, I have art ideas. This is where I'll input my page interactions. So my page interactions might be a click, might be a link. I'm also going to say where I'm getting my media assets, because I hate to lose things. So that's how everything ends up falling into my one big spreadsheet. If I have stored them in a file somewhere, if I have them on a shared drive, this is where I link back to the art and the things that I'm using right now in my content that I'm building. And then I have relevant feedback, and that's not the kind of feedback that I would be using to show someone a project and get their feedback on it. It would be, these are the tribal pieces of knowledge that might be important to this project ahead of time. And so Katie actually touched on that too. It's that whole tribal knowledge, that culture, the cult. What kinds of things do I need to know going into this? Is there a particular word? And I just found this out in my business yesterday. We had a project that had a very specific name. It was an HR project that got a bad rap. And so, relevant feedback for me in my large spreadsheet here would be, okay, don't use this term, okay, because it got a bad rap. We're basically reinventing and rebranding something right now. So those are the kinds of pieces that go in here. So anyway, I'm going to, all right, I don't think I'm on the board anymore. I don't think the sharing is there. So, oh, sweet. Katie's going to share a template too for getting some more feedback, which is really super cool, because that's one of the areas. I have some tools that I use. By the way, I do tend to use Adobe quite a bit, actually, which is interesting. Adobe for feedback, I can PDF things out. I can put them onto what I was sharing up here earlier, which is the Adobe Document Cloud. Someone can log in, they can be invited in, they give me their name, and then they can give me feedback on my template. Of course, that's provided I can get everything into a single PDF sheet. So there are some limitations there. These are really, truly ad hoc tools. I've used Google in the past. Let me see if I can get Katie in real quick too, because I'm really curious to see what she's doing. 1 second here. I'm just happy at this point that the board is working. All right. All right. Let's see if I can get her back in here again. So the types of things that I have shared with you guys as far. Okay. All right, Alan. Sounds good. This is getting called out on some troubleshooting. I hear that. So every now and then things just kind of fall apart and you have to switch. Yay. All right. So Katie's back. Thank you. So I'm actually really
I'm
curious.
going to shut this window. It's like glaring. You can see the.
Sweet.
It's actually the skylight.
Oh, you can't do much about that, huh?
Yeah.
I was just reading.
I can, but I need a ladder.
I know that feeling. I need a ladder and a step stool for everything. I was reading some of Kim's questions in here as I was talking about my Excel, my large Excel spreadsheet that I was working with. Yeah, I actually would put in my text in here, but it becomes just kind of a resident place where I keep everything related to a project. And it's a way that I can track it. It's kind of a strange thing. I don't know if anybody else has ever done that before, is to quote unquote storyboard in an Excel spreadsheet, but it's worked for me. So
yeah, I've done it before. The one thing that so a company provided the Excel spreadsheet storyboard, and they wanted us to follow a certain design where like most of it was words on the screen. They said,
okay,
no, we need a template that's all visual because we're showing concepts here and diagrams, and the
right.
voiceover is going to give you the words. We don't want to take up space with that here. So
And that was what was.
yeah.
I put a lot of that into the notes on my actual document. And I'll actually share the PowerPoint that I created out of this with you guys later, so that you can see that it's not as convoluted as it looks. It's actually the PowerPoint itself is too simple. It's too simplistic.
Yeah, it actually worked for us. For each module, there was a column for what text would go in the voiceover for that slide, and you could do a little thumbprint of the visual that was going to be happening in that slide.
Like a little snapshot kind of thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they weren't doing animation for this slide, but we needed animation, so we had to get really creative with that. And that was what we did, was we showed a sequence. So a sequence of slides would kind of in animation.
Okay.
You have like a diagram, and it builds with each slide. So.
Okay, so like in a short movie, but creating it more like a GIF kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so like the concept is like a flow chart, maybe from one step to the next. You don't show the next step until you get there.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
yeah.
Cool. Well,
So
I love it.
here.
Yes.
I could make that public. It's just really basic stuff, and it has a drop down list.
Cool.
What I took out of there and probably wanted to add back in, but you could put another tab where you have links to anything that SMEs need to reference. So a link to your videos or the e-learning or script or whatever.
Cool. Yeah. So, and I see that like you have time codes in here. So this is making an assumption that you probably are doing something that's video, or.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so there could be something like, slide number or page or whatever it is.
Cool. Excellent.
And so it helps them give the feedback that you need to help you work efficiently too, and then it creates a priority list too. So they don't have to leave out any feedback that they think. It's like, should I add this or not? You can just add it and put it as something that would be nice to have versus. So there's drop down lists in there, and there's like the Moscow ratings for doing requirements. Actually, must have, should have, could have.
If any of you guys have ever done a requirements gathering, Moscow is basically, M stands for must have. I don't remember what the O or the S is, but S is should have, C is could have. And so that's basically where that acronym comes from. But this is a great use for it because you're basically going through and you're vetting your requirements, or at least a validation of what your customer says that they absolutely must have and that it works for them. So that's a really important part of this. Cool.
Yeah. So getting feedback is hard, but if it's not nebulous, because nebulous is like a blocker for a lot of people, it makes it easier. So
yeah, this is nice because it actually puts everything in a format where you can use it rather than, the ad hoc way of sharing out something where somebody might put a comment in, like a word. Word reviews are hard. I find them very difficult because, like, okay, so-and-so made a comment over here, but then you see additional comments and maybe somebody makes a comment about the same exact place on a piece of text. And I find it difficult to sort through. This makes a lot more sense because you're actually calling out exactly where you need to make that comment, with options for drop down. This is really nice. I like it.
And then it's a checklist for you. Like, did I get everything? Did I get everything that I must have? Do I have to get to these should haves?
Very cool.
I actually, that came as a result of working. So I worked for this company where we would work with representatives for like 20 companies. So, I mean, I had, anywhere from 4 really avid contributors to as many as like 15 people commenting on a deck. And they would send it in lots of different ways. They would send it to me in an email. They would put it directly in the deck. They would message me online. And because they were everywhere, doing different things everywhere, I allowed that, and it had to be that way so that they would get me the feedback in whichever way worked for them. But I would put all of those comments in a thing like this, and address those in the meeting so that they could see that I am paying attention to you. I saw your comments. Here's what we're doing. Here's how they're prioritized. So that evolved into this. I mean, it's really simple, but it makes a huge difference for getting valuable feedback.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I see that you have animals associated with people who are logged in there. That's funny.
Yeah.
You got an animal thing going today.
Google puts in there. There was one that I never heard of before, so I had to look it up. It was kind of a monkey rodent creature that's
really hilarious.
Yeah.
Now, have you had any problems at all with Google with syncing anything? And I asked this because recently I had a SharePoint issue. SharePoint can be a bear, in terms of opening something up like an online Word or online PowerPoint, resaving it back. And I'm not allowed to use Google tools in my current day job. So, those are things that I just don't do. If I use Google tools, it'll be when I work with somebody else. Like, just FYI, guys, I did work with Katie on one of her last projects, and she is so organized, like just amazingly seriously. Like, I could look at your folder structures and know exactly what needed to be done. So, I mean, that's the level of organization that I think we all need to take our practices to, because while we're creative, we're a team of 1 or 2 people. And so if you've got a structure that anybody can look at and say, okay, this is clearly the process, that is golden. It's really awesome. So just wanted to tell you, it was really easy for me to look at your folder structures and really understand what you're doing. But any issues with Google or with, syncs or anything like that, or people working offline?
Yes and no. I just wanted to respond to your comment. I mean, thank you. That would be a surprise to a lot of people who know me on a personal level. Like, organized? What? Because
you're left brain, right brain, right?
I'm kind of like all over the place. Yeah. So thanks for noticing.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's the only way to keep all that crazy in line.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think a lot of times we tend to think about the fact that we are left brain, right brain. I mean, that's just the expectation of kind of what we do. Some places are more creative than others. I work in a workplace where we're extremely templated out. I mean, we don't create anything that is a one-off, just because that's kind of how we do it. You know, everything is templated. It has a process. In fact, our storyboards, they are our templates. That's actually how we start to storyboard out. I would have loved to have showed you guys that, but I actually can't. But that's, you know, that's one part of who we are, is that process. But the other piece of it is we do amazing creative things in this group. You know, we come up with, you know, personas. So I'm going to use that word, by the way, for your characters. I think every character has like a marketing persona. You know, we apply that type of thing, and it's creative, but it's not creative. You know, and if you hear Katie talk about story, anytime you hear Katie talk about story, you're like, wow, she's amazingly creative, but she's also extremely well organized. So just so you know. But I love the spreadsheet though. I mean, and I think that's super helpful for feedback. Like, I'm just curious, are there any limitations that you find with this type of a spreadsheet? Do you get any issues with somebody trying to edit your words in a document in this spreadsheet? Do they give you that kind of feedback as far as a defect?
That's the beautiful thing about the form. They're not actually commenting on something. It takes more effort to be nitpicky, right? So I need the big things. I need the important things. And with a spreadsheet like that, it's easier to keep people, what's the word? Good.
Keep them in line.
Keep them in line, right? Yeah. Yeah, because
I love that.
If you're going to be nitpicky, you're going to be in that spreadsheet all day long, and people don't want that. So they're only going to call out what's really going to make a difference. So on the using Google Docs thing, so it's both good and not. So we had all these files, all these the folder structure you're talking about, and I was just using the share link. You know, here's a share link, and sending that off to the people that needed. Like, here's the document we're working on. Here's this, and here's that. And then one of the engineers saw that, you know, this is basically public. Whoever has this link can go and look at these details. Which, you know, at one point I thought, well, you know, who would care, right? Because it's going to be public at some point anyway. When they release it's going to be all public. But, you know, part of what we're showing here is how to be, you know, secure. So I couldn't figure out how to share it with just the people who were allowed access to that folder. And then, then I did. So if you go and you try to share something, if you click the shareable link, you make it public. So now whoever has that link can access it for view or edit or whatever it is that you do it. But if you have it shared to specific email addresses, then what you can do is there's an advanced link on there. If you open the advanced link, that gives you a link at the top of the page. There's a link, and that link can only be accessed by the people that you've shared the file to.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, there's all these little rules out there. I mean, in the past, it seemed like one of my big challenges, because I did use Google Documents exclusively for my work process for an employer a couple of years back, was people coming back and saying, I need access. So, you know, that was probably my bigger challenge, was giving people access rather than taking it away. So, but I really like the idea. So, I mean, I do this in our LMS all the time, because as you guys know, I'm the LMS manager for my company. So I tend to think very technically. And so if we give someone a choice about how to provide feedback, I usually say, first of all, let's do a drop down, because then we avoid misspellings. First off, you know, I'm not getting feedback that I'm handing over to management that has misspellings in it. And then I limit the choices there. So there are only so many options that they can choose. And then it becomes more reportable, because then I've got 3 different things that I can say, okay, here's the choices that somebody chose to rate this and how they liked it and whether they felt like it was effective. And then I can actually put a value to that. So, you know, it becomes a kind of a data analytics when I limit what that bandwidth looks like on the feedback. So your spreadsheet makes a lot of sense to me. And quite frankly, I mean, I probably wouldn't do it that way. I would give somebody an open-ended text box so that they could tell me everything that was wrong with whatever I did in my English. So, which, you know, I get a lot of that too. So, but it's cool. I really like it. So, very sweet. And I'm curious, and I told folks that we were going to talk a little bit about tools in this, and I know that you have that creative background as well. So have you done movie storyboarding at all? I mean, because, everything you do is pretty much video for learning, which is different from videos. Okay. Just curious, because I've worked in a couple of actual storyboarding tools for doing like documentary production. And so like my quote unquote movie experience is mostly documentaries, you know. So there's a format, you know. You have an introduction, you know, you give a little bit of a background on the topic, you know, then you pan into the 3-camera interview with your subject. You know, it's all very prescribed the same way any other type of story would be. So once you have your storyboard templates built out, you can actually continue to use them in the same way. And it becomes kind of a brand as well. You know, and one thing I know about what we do in our workplace is, like I mentioned before, we have a template that we use for storyboarding. So that template has the intro. It has, you know, like overview of what's in it for me. Why are you taking this training? The next step we'll talk about, okay, so we're going to talk about this and these are the objectives. You know, we kind of go down a pathway of this is how we do everything. And I think that's why it works for us to be able to storyboard, you know, in a PowerPoint template. I don't know if that works for everybody. But I did say that I was going to share some things here too with you guys, and I'm going back and forth between windows here. I found actually a couple of cool things that I've used over the years. I don't know if you guys use a lot of mobile devices, but there's a lot of really cool mobile devices out there. Hang on. Gosh darn. I got the wrong window here. Sorry, I'm window challenged today. So this is a question I have too. I know that we all heard fairly, I guess in the last year or so, about the Camtasia product that was offered out there for offering comments on storyboards and videos. Has anybody used that?
I haven't used it yet.
Okay.
No.
We should probably get Matt back in here to demo that out again and find out exactly like what we should be doing. Hang on, I'm pulling up some of the things here.
While you're doing that, your question about whether or not I've storyboarded for movies. So in 1998, when I started my college adventures, I took this design class, and oh my gosh, this teacher was just amazing. He would so it was about using lines and different things, and he talked about, you know, the effects that those things have on people, like diagonal lines will tend to kind of set you off, like it's uncomfortable. So vertical and you know, level lines. So as he's, you know, talking about, you know, lines and not color, because color was another topic that I actually didn't take, but tones and shades, like the darkness and lightness of things. And he talked about them in the context of movies and advertising and
right.
And all the things like when in a movie, when a character is someone you want to pay attention to because they're the bad guy or something's going to happen to them, they come in from from this side, because we read from right to left. So if it comes in from the right as opposed to the left, that's what you're not used to that. So that character kind of stands out a little bit. So most of a great deal of the design concepts that I use when I put things together kind of come from that one. And it was a 3-month quarter-long class, and it had a huge impact on everything I've learned about design since.
Interesting.
He shared all kinds of things, like in a movie when there's death, you hear flies. There's always flies accompanying something that is dead or dying or about to die.
So it's that whole foreshadowing thing then.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
so my son is a sound engineer, and he recently shared with me that there is this low decibel sound that you can't hear.
Interesting. Like
But
like
horror
our
film,
dogs.
yeah, you can't hear it, but
Huh.
you can feel it.
Oh
You can
wow.
actually feel it. So movies will use this really low decibel noise in really scary parts because it's like something's not right. You can't hear it, but it's there. You can feel it.
Right. Oh, that's really interesting. Very cool.
Yeah.
That reminds
Yeah.
me.
So movie people, they know all these tricks. They've put a lot of money into studying, what things do to us. So
That's interesting. Well, and like I said, I've worked in movie storyboards before, which are completely different. And I also have a couple of examples I'll show you guys. I wanted to start by actually showing you something I thought was really interesting. I've seen this one used before. I don't own a copy of it. I think there might be a free download. This is one that actually shows you branching interactions. Which I think is pretty cool too, and how to set up your branching interactions. It was a review by eLearning Industry. I follow them. Connie Malamed, I think that's how you say her name, has Malamed, is that how? Okay. The stuff that she has on her pages for storyboarding resources are amazing too. I'm actually going to put these in because let me grab it here real quick. Because I just, there's so many good things out there. Hang on, I have her link here on the e-learning coach. And if any of you don't know about her page, I actually ended up referring to her page recently for a work project because we were doing some HTML5. And so there's HP5, which is a different, it's essentially drag and drop HTML. So that's basically what it was. We were doing a pretty cool project. And so I referred some folks in my business to take a look at some of the things that Connie had on her page regarding the HP5 product. And so some of the resources she has are just amazing. But yeah, I was going through and I saw a branch track. I don't remember if I saw it like at a show or where I saw it, but it's actually pretty cool because it allows you as a tool to do the types of interactions that you would put together in a branching scenario before you go in and start. And granted, yeah, you can do this while you're working in Articulate or Storyline. You can, build them out to be branching scenarios. You can test them. You can go through and figure out whether they're doing right. But this was a really interesting. Actually, I'm just looking at it right now. This was somebody from Cinecraft who actually wrote this review. Chris Carroll, is that somebody that works with you? I didn't even realize this. I happened to look at it. So I don't know if Kim is still on or not, but it's interesting to me to see what you can do in branching scenarios. And granted, this is not linear. I mean, if you're working in branching scenarios where you're doing a storyboard that says, okay, well, somebody gets this question right, and clearly they have a really good concept here of how to use this topic, so we're not going to push them down this branch. It may be not the kind of thing you're going to use, but if you're doing things that are non-linear, this is a pretty cool tool for testing it out. I'm heading back to, I'm working in so many different views here now. It's crazy. There we go. I'm back to you guys. Oh, okay. And then here's Connie's page, the Learning Coach, and some of her resources on storyboarding as well. If you guys want to click that and take a look. So this is a really cool place to find what I think are some really good ad hoc tools. Most of the tools that she's presenting in this particular table, Kevin Thorne has an Articulate storyboard for building out e-learning in Articulate. And these are all downloadable. They're all super resources. So this one actually, I think that's a PowerPoint if I remember correctly. It might be a Word doc. You can do a visual storyboard in Word. Her first one is one of Connie's pieces. When you download this piece, let me see if I can download one here and show it to you. Again, a lot of us, so there's some like amazing products out there that are available to us that we can use that we buy. Okay. The question is does any one of these actually fit you exactly for what you need to do? Probably not. And so I guess the question for me is, aren't all of our processes either quote unquote tailored or ad hoc? I mean, so, and this is a question, Katie, actually, when you're doing a storyboard, does it change with your client?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Okay.
A lot of factors play into that, like how quickly is it needed? Is it something that we're looking at for high quality? What's the audience? Is it internal, or are we looking at a public audience?
Okay.
So many different factors play a role in, and then what tools are they using? I mean, this last client was working with Google's documents and everything, so it just worked to use that. But a company that doesn't or has firewalls, you're going to do something else. So yeah, maybe you're working with a client who's working with someone else. This happened with another project where I was just the instructional designer. Somebody else was providing the templates and actually going to do the e-learning,
Okay.
and they needed us to fit in their model. So every single time it's different.
So has the client ever given you a storyboard that they prefer? I mean, so like I'm one of those people that I'm so behind a firewall. I'm quite frankly, because I don't manage this process, I don't work with our external vendors. I know that a lot of times when they do provide storyboards for us to review, they're in PDF formats. But does the business ever say, hey, this is our preferred method to deal with our contract productions? Here's the tool. I mean, has anybody ever done that as well?
Well, I think it was just in that one instance where we were working with it. So it wasn't the client providing it, but it was the other contract company that provided it and said, if we're going to do the e-learning, here's the template. You need to put it in. But most of the time, they're hiring an expert, so to speak, because they don't know what to do.
Right. That's true. Yeah. I mean, you come in with that clout, and are you recommending tools at all?
For storyboarding,
or for any of the process that you're working with on them. I mean, are you saying, hey, I like Google, but I know you can't use it? I mean, are you able to recommend things to them?
yeah, if they're looking for recommendations, if then yeah, I'll recommend something. And again, it's different for each client. You kind of have to think, well, what am I familiar with? What's going to be easy for them to use? What do they already have in place? All those factors. And so that's the only reason I don't have any recommendations right now, is because it's always different. And usually, in most cases, it's the simplest.
Right.
The simplest tool. The more complicated it is, I'll use the complicated tools for myself. But for working with the client who's hiring somebody to just like do whatever you do and we'll pay you, like, okay.
So I'm curious, and I put this question in too. What's the most common collaboration tool that people are using to work with either their workplace or to work with their customers? Because I mean, like I said, there's all kinds of tools out there. I mean, I know for certain that Camtasia has a product now that's out there for walking through a video, getting comments from stakeholders. That's just one. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of these things out there. Is anybody using any one particular tool? Is everybody using Word docs? Or I mean, I'm really curious what people are using, because I feel like I may be antiquated in my process, in some cases. Is it Google Docs? I don't know.
You're not antiquated. I mean, we've got you need somewhere to share files.
Okay.
So there needs to be a place where people can access files, a SharePoint, a Google Drive, a Live Drive, whatever it is. And you need a way to communicate. You need to know. I was brought in as a partner on a project with another consultant, and she did something really smart. When she opened up a project, she had a spreadsheet of contact names.
Okay. Okay.
So she put everybody in there that she was working with, what their role was, where they were at,
Okay.
location.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps you when you're a consultant and you don't know these people on a daily basis. This helps you keep people's names and contact numbers, emails, whatever. So you need communication.
Okay.
And that can be different even within a group. Some people will respond more readily to a text message. Some like in this project now, I get texts all the time, but the engineers, they only communicate in the documents themselves. So I
Okay.
get Google notices that somebody commented on something.
Well, and sometimes just to know about knowing their preferred method of contact as well. I know at one point we actually had a chart that we kept in one of our spaces, our shared spaces of work, that was everybody's contact and then their preferred method of contact. So, maybe one person does text, maybe one person likes emails, maybe somebody likes a phone call. That happens. Slacks, yeah, I am a huge Slack fan because Slack is such a great collaborative tool because, that way you can separate your conversations out into topics, into the channels. You can, basically find like-minded people, which is super cool too. I was just thinking back to, and I know that Kristen demoed out Trello. And I wish I had a snapshot of this board. I had this amazing, elaborate Trello board that I used for working with about 70 instructional designers and department heads. This was for a university to do a content revision. And so we cycled through about once every 3 years, and we would take a full content revision of like a third of the content. So I would assign out the instructional designers. I would find out who the department contact was. And so, they would roll off, that the ID would roll off with all of the folks on the project. They would determine what new textbooks there were, if there were any changes as far as page numbers or assets or anything like that. But this Trello board managed not just my project, but also because it was linear, I could actually add a lot of notes into it, including contact information for everybody on the team, which was amazing because I just did this one little card that was specific to the project that I could pick up and I could move through the different phases. So not did I just know where those people were locatable, if that's a word. I could find them, I could reach out to them, I could contact them, but I also knew where every single piece of those project was in that process workflow because I had like 30 different things going at once. And so I managed them all. Again, more of a project management tool, but like Kristen was showing some ways that, that particular tool set can be used to, maybe do some storyboarding because it really does have an interesting workflow. So you guys are inspiring me now to go find other ways to actually storyboard things out and make presentations. So cool.
So on that, I was thinking about the Trello versus a Google spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
So in one project I was working on, we used Trello, but it was all for the technical team working on the e-learning itself. So I was the instructional designer, and and somebody else was creating the e-learning, and so I had to go through and make sure the buttons were doing what they were supposed to, and the content was good. And so we used Trello boards for that, and that was internal team working all together on the e-learning. The recent project with all the engineers having to review scripts and videos, if I had to have them go into Trello, I wouldn't have been able to get the feedback as easily as I would have with a spreadsheet.
Right.
So,
right.
So that's an example of the context of the project and the people you're working with. Something simple with just a few columns of, okay, give me a few notes and how important that is, versus like a project management board like Trello, where we're tracking all the fine details, who's working on it, and what needs to happen, and is it done or not done, moving those pieces along the board.
Yeah.
So,
Well, because there's so many neat features, because you can mark something checked off, you can mark it as delayed. You can embed documents and attach things. So if I have, if I know that my next step is to go through and review for the quality of maybe the links, and now I can embed a form in there that will give me the option to go through and go click, click, click. No, this doesn't work, sign off, and I can load it back onto that particular tool. So I'm actually a really big Trello fan, where I remember when I first started using it, this was years ago with Pearson, I didn't like it. But I think it's because we didn't use it the right way. So Kristen shared a...
Pearson is who I was working with, by
Is
the way.
it? Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, they definitely like Trello, and I think there's different ways to use it, and some are more robust than others. Kristen did share one of her favorite Trello boards here too, and so again, like this one's very process oriented that she shared with us, which is cool because it helps you not only manage, but it also kind of helps you see where your process may have flaws too. So some pretty cool things. We've got some great tools out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I will do is I actually had a really pretty good list of storyboarding tools, mapping tools that I'll go ahead and share back out to the Slack, because the Slack is a really important place to find. Maybe we need a storyboarding channel. This is like such a key topic. And again, when I first started marketing this, I'm like, some people call it storyboarding, some people call it mapping, some call it design docs. I always called it design docs when I worked with the military. So what's your convention?
It's again, it's different per client.
Okay.
If you say storyboard to some of them, that really kind of paints a certain image,
Right.
and people would expect certain things from that. It just becomes part of the workflow.
Right.
At first, people ask, "Well, how do you storyboard?" Oh yeah, this is the thing that I do. I haven't really called it storyboarding, but that's pretty much what it is.
Right.
It's kind of providing an outline most of the time, like the outline.
Exactly. Well, and then there is another link that I'll share too. It was a YouTube video. I shared it earlier. It was a webinar. It was put together by eLearning Brothers, and it talks about the different types of storyboarding. And it talks about things like wireframes. Like programmers use wireframes to develop everything out. That shows all their interactions. So that's one terminology. A true storyboarding is what you think of with movies. Design documents, mapping. It's like there's so many different names out there. So it's such an important topic for us to talk about.
Yeah, right. And storyboarding would be the word to use. Like even I call it, the outlining part. It's really not. There's another outlining piece where you kind of outline the content,
right,
versus outlining the design.
Yep.
Different stuff. So different steps.
In the end, it does. I guess every single one of these tools provides a framework for us so that we can do our jobs better, hopefully not lose track of pieces. And, hence my giant spreadsheets that I'm using, because that way I can double check everything and make sure that I'm not missing out on my opportunity to talk to a SME or to remember to rebrand something. It all becomes part of the framework that kind of keeps me honest in moving forward, with a project that meets the objective, which is one of the reasons I always keep that objective out there in the top corner of everything I do, is to remember why I'm doing it. But they're really a framework, and that's pretty much what they are, no matter what we call them. So cool.
Right. In the story process that I'm putting together, it's the plot. Well, it's part the plot, and it's part narrate, because in narrate you're kind of deciding how you're going to tell the story, more or less, and then there's the plot, is how you arrange everything. But the plot is a little bit project management. It's kind of that reminder of when you need to do what when, like a reminder that you need to talk to so and so at this point in the project, or
exactly
release this piece of it at this time.
Yep. Well, I think all of us are project managers too, which is another big piece of what we do on a regular basis. Well, I guess we're coming up on time. So, but it's been really cool to hear Like
You can tell by the way the sun is moving. It was back here, and now it's here. In my face, it's making me glow. I'm not really like.
Oh, and I wanted to show you my typical storyboarding process. There's my storyboard.
There you go.
It's too funny. So my husband did that to me this morning. He's like, "All right, let me create a storyboard for you." So he's got a good sense of humor. So cool. Well, everybody, it's really good to hear from you. And please feel free to jump into the Slack channel, because I actually feel like this is a topic we could probably go on and on about, because there's a whole lot about it. So jump in and chat, and I'll put some more links in. And I'm glad to know that you guys are here and interested in this. And let us know what we can do to help, or how we can chat it up some more. And maybe this becomes something that we consider talking about again, because there's so many great tools out here. We could probably feature one in every single cast. So cool. All right. Well, everybody have a great day and take care. And I managed to get this working without too much difficulty for my cast. All right. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you guys. Thanks, Molly, Kristen, Julie, all you guys.
Everybody.
It's good to see you.
Yes. Take care.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.